Hello people, it's me, Libluini, and we are back here playing Dominion 6. Another multiplayer game is launching, and this time we are playing the late age of Caelum, a nation of bird people who love frost and ice, except in the late age where they are loving death instead. Yeah, it's confusing, it's Dominions. We are again back to spring in the year 0 of the Ascension Wars, and this time our god is Hilmar Weiger Peterson, the CEO of CCP. Yes, it's an EVE Online reference. Whatever. We get the obligatory messages here. And holy shit. I've started so many multiplayer games and multiple recordings, I can't really bring myself to read this again so short after another. And of course we get this message about, yep, shit has happened, Supreme God has disappeared. Now the fight and war of religion has started again. And this time, a visitor from Iceland has arrived in the city of the bird people to fuck shit up. Well, let's see, this time our starting area seems really nice. We have 5 possible provinces to draw resources from. So hopefully this time I'm in a game where I don't have to do the equivalent of recruiting mages just to get more resources. More on that later. The bless is fairly simple because we get magic weapons, so we can always hurt everyone, and twist fate, which essentially means that if we get hit and the hit is fatal, the unit magically survives, something like this. Incarnate only means we have to wait, because I wanted not only some good bless on my sacred units, but also some good scales, and that cost more than an Evade Pretender can give, so I had to take the second option, which puts him to sleep at the beginning of the game for about a year. The other option is this last option, which gives the most points to play around with at game start, is sadly one that will take up to 3 years or 36 turns until you see your pretender showing up. And in a multiplayer game, that's insane, because many games are already entering the last step around turn 50 or something. So waiting for 36 turns before your god shows up needs you to have to do some serious planning, and you can't use incarnate blesses, because let me tell you, if you wait until your important weapon shows up 3 years into the game, you're kind of dead on arrival. But it's just my opinion. So importantly is I have a vast array of different bird people. The Spirehorn warriors are generally resistant against cold and shock, and can fly in storms, which is important since storms are something we can theoretically get. In the late age this will need a lot of work, however. The Storm Guard is basically the master of these kinds of troops. They have the highest protection, the highest attack and defense skills, and as a silly little drawback, they also get ice armor, so if it's cold, they have more protection. If it's warm, their armor starts to melt. The only good thing is they have also a magic weapon, so units that aren't explicitly resistant against cold damage will always get hurt. And the lesser versions of this type of unit also have ice lances. Then we have composite bow armed Spirehorn archers. That's an upgrade, because in Dominions 5 and earlier they would only get a short bow with shorter range. So they're kind of beastlier now. They also have magic ice knife, so they can be dangerous if they manage to use their average attack skill to hit something, and aren't immediately dying in return, since they have only 9 hit points, lower protection, and a non-existent defense skill. But if they can stay alive for long enough, there could be a problem for an astonishing number of enemy troops. The Spirehorn Militia is just the cheapest version with lowest moral and protection. They don't even have helmets. Ah yes, not having helmets is always fun. Astonishing number of those low-scale troops don't have helmets. which means they are vulnerable against head hits. Yeah, that can be nasty. At least our storm guards have an ice cap. That's it. Less chance of immediately dying if someone bops them in the head. Then we have the area. The area. Oh god, that's hard to pronounce. The ice version of the bird people. Caelumites. They have triple the cold resistance of the storm guys. And ice armor even on the lowest rung. Also have, of course, magic ice armor and a shield. Well, together with their mediocre protection, they do fairly well against enemies with arrows and really shitty against enemies with crossbows, who will possibly kill them instantly with their armor-piercing bolts. Still, no helmet, huh? Then there's an upgraded version that has a helmet, but only an ice plate. They are Caelum's equivalent of line infantry, but since they are bird people, they are really easy to kill. Disturbingly so, since they only have 9 hit points. The only good thing they have is their low combat speed doesn't matter since they can fly. Except in storms, of course. You have to just be careful, because if you want them to be line infantry, of course you can set them to attack the rear. Otherwise, yeah, they have ice armor, so they get more protection in ice. And yeah, that was it really. And then we had the final ones, the Raptors, who have the cheeky brown wings. Raptors are normal in all aspects. They don't have magic weapons, and in all other aspects they are completely normal people, just that they can fly and are kind of flimsy because of their hollow bones and shit. This extends even to the basic Raptor warrior, who has a light lance, which gives him, like all types of lances, a charge bonus. Very important for a flying unit, because they can ignore the combat speed and just fly over, and all the little squares they cross charge up their light lances. So if they land and hit, man, will that unit feel it if they get hit. Attack skill 11 is slightly above average, but not magical. Protection is average, yeah, and they don't get more since they don't have magic ice powers. They have, however, helmets and shield, so they are actually fairly good crack troops, especially for surprise attacks into the back row. Just have to remember they are 0 magic units. Where the Raptorian warrior level 2 just needs twice as many resources for a slight upgrade in protection, and as far as I can tell, that's already it. So yeah, that might be a waste. They have, however, 11 hit points. Wait, shit, there was also. So yeah, then there is 0 difference. They have 11 hit points, I guess, as a little freebie, since they are unmagical as fuck. Defense skill is also the same. Yeah, I think only encumbrances. Yeah, I can't find some other difference except higher protection. I guess this means in a brutal calculation of war, you should always use the cheaper ones, because why waste resources, I guess. You can easily mass the ones with 12 protection, while the ones with 14 protection cost twice as much. That's a bit wow. 10, 18, 16 and 13, 18, 16. Yeah, the only difference seems to be that they have a plate cuirass, which also gives them more encumbrance. No, they're exactly the same, just more protection. Yeah, interestingly, mechanically there is a difference, because there are hit zones on the body. Like, there can be head hits, there can be hits on the legs, hits on the center torso and something. This of course means that if these units are getting hit directly into the stomach, that means they will get 3 points of damage more than the more expensive units. But again, they're both still fairly cheap units. except for the militia, of course. That's too cheap. So my judgment is, since they're both kind of cheap throwaway units, use en masse, you probably should go for the cheaper ones. Then the Raptorian warrior level 3, the version with a sword, has the same level of protection like the lesser versions. Only difference is, instead of 11-12, they have 11-13. Well, they're slightly better at defending themselves. Ironically, they all have shields, so this is just another case of, this is your line infantry now. They also take even more resources than the other expensive Raptorians. So I'm guessing is, of those 4, 3 are kind of irrelevant. The area infantry with magic swords is probably better. Since their protection starts at 13 at neutral, it can get even better. Of course, it's a bit risky if you encounter someone who has something insane like heat level 4. That would drop this to 9. And they're slightly worse at attacking and defending. But of course they are also cheaper in terms of recruitment points and resources. Yeah. So if you need line infantry, I guess the area infantry would still be better, since they're much cheaper in resources. And then if you need crack troops, the cheaper Raptorian warriors would be a good choice. That's primarily because the highly resistant dudes on the left side, the Spire Horn warriors, all lack helmets, which is an astonishingly heavy liability in wars, as I've found out to my own demise more than once. So yeah, that should be the optimal choice, I guess, for future armies. Those light lance guys, followed by areas, because they have inbuilt cold resistance magic weapons. And I'm not even sure that their weapon damage can be resisted. That it's magic really is really the only attack, so I think cold resistance won't negate ice blade damage because it's still a sharp blade. Then there's the version with ice lances, who are magical, but of course they don't have a helmet, which annoys me. I guess if you have the resources, you could then use the Storm Guard as your elite. Yeah, that seems to be the future, but right now they're too expensive. Back down, we have still more units, because Caelum has a lot of those. You have the Iron Crow, which is now better in attacking and defense skill, the best unit so far. Fairly high protection for Caelum. And of course, they have a nice broadsword. And they can fly. So another version of line infantry, the elite, still a bit costly in resources. Then the Raven Guard, which are ambidextrous. They have 2 attacks, which can be a nasty surprise, especially since they have above average defense and attack skills. Protection is still okay, morale is even higher, unlikely to run away in battle, and they are stealthy. Not very stealthy, 40 is fairly low on that scale, but this means we can in the future use Raven Guards for surprise attacks behind the lines. So let's continue. Iceclads. Probably won't be seeing because they're expensive as fuck. And they have ice armor too, which means it's very, very good at deep frost. But of course this means that their protection drops by 2 each heat scale. So it's at -6 already by heat 3. In the Dominion 6 it can go to heat 5. That would be... yeah, at that point they're basically only wearing a small belt of water instead of armor. Ice Lance and charge bonus are of course neat, but they can't fly and storm, so something you have to take into account. And no attack skill is about the same. No, it looks like only the specialists like Iron Crows and Raven Guards get the coveted 12 attack. Taurians also 11. Well, we have fairly nice attack rolls, nothing too extreme. Then the weirdos will rip down wings out the sacred units. The Iron Hail Archer is interesting because he's basically an inbuilt reinvigoration machine. So of course I'm always a bit confused by this because how to put this? I always have to go back to the temple and look at my bless, because if you add invigoration like I didn't this time, it doesn't show up until the unit is blessed because it's not an innate thing. So this means those units have their own invigoration inside. So the insane encumbrance is effectively not 10 in this case, but 7. Back to the Iron Hail Archers. Great, they have, yeah, gold. They are low in resources, so if you have enough money, you can amass a shit ton of those. You can then all give them your blast, which in our case would be shit like Twist Fate and give magic attack to their arrows. I could mower down a lot of units if they are stupid enough to mass in front of us. But at the end of the day, they are still low protection archers and vulnerable to counterattacks. They only have a dinky dagger. With the bless in the future, if our pretender wakes up, a magic dagger. But that's about it. So you can use them, but at the end of the day, kind of a waste of a sacred. The upper ages get instead a blizzard archer. Non-sacred sadly, but they have magic bows that can slow enemy units down, so you could do something with those, I suppose. Otherwise, there is a final archer unit we haven't talked about, the Earthbound. 38 resources, 27 recruitment points, and fairly expensive at 23 gold. They're the elite of the elite, and because they're tiny bird people wearing heavy armor, they also have 10 encumbrance and only 3 reinvigoration. Okay, I read that wrong. Well, that means they have actually 7, which is not that bad. Most units with this amount of armor would have something like 6 to 8, I think. So they are still actually worse than average heavy armored guys. But at least not fatally so. Can still use them. Attack and defense are about average for good infantry. Nothing too insane here. Protection is high at 20. That's really good actually. It will negate a lot of weapons outright if you roll high enough. Like a short sword attack 17 with strength added would not hurt another Earthbound at all. You would have to need insane luck to not only hit by a difference of 2 between attack and defense, but then also roll high enough to get beyond protection 20. Magic resistance is moral is high. That's always nice and despite being bird people, they have 14 hit points, or they have at least one tiny chance of surviving a hit. They will be good in the future if we had our incarnate blasters, because not only are their attacks then immediately magical, but they will also suddenly be able to survive a deadly hit. Very useful. And they have crossbows. Crossbows shoot slower than normal bows, but they are armor piercing. Yes, that is. That means yeah, the opponent's armor's effects is halved. Memory restored. So this means this 12 damage would not hit against 20, but against 10 instead. So you can see how this can be dangerous if you have less than this insanely high amount of protection, because then those balls can suddenly do a lot of painful damage. You just have to remember you can only shoot once every 2 turns. On the other hand, those composite balls, for example, do more damage, but because that damage isn't armor piercing, this would mean that, for example, our Earthbounds could just tank those hits at face value, except in edge cases. We take into account that they also have shields to protect themselves against this kind of thing. They're extremely hard to kill with bows. Crossbows at least have a chance at hurting them. That's a stark difference. And really, if we need cheap archers, we can always just cram a bunch of Spirehorn archers in. They also come with the good thing that they can even move around in storm. One kind of neat side effect of flying units is that if they panic and run away, they have a good chance of making it. So if you put a ton of money and resources into Spirehorn archers, you'll probably get a lot of them back if they inevitably break. Iron Hail archers, of course, will be toast if they're overrun. Card. Finally, the Mammoth Rider. Back in the days of Dominions 5, it was just one big sturdy unit with lots of hit points and the ability to trample the enemy into the ground. Now instead it's a bunch of archers and riders, and while the rider will only attack enemies directly next to the Mammoth, the archer's cannon will actually fire while moving, so this is a fantasy tank. The Mammoth has 64 hit points and enough protection that it needs a lot of hits to get killed, and because this is Dominion 6, there is only a 1 in 4 chance of hits actually landing on the Mammoth in the first place. So a lot of hits will be tanked by the crew on board, and only if the rider is killed will the Mammoth then desert. So they can have some painful tasks and can't kill with this, but more importantly they have trample, which means smaller units will get extra damage, and the game doesn't roll for this. Trample damage is automatic. And size 9 is close to the new maximum of 10, which means there is basically no other unit that the Mammoth can't hurt just by standing next to it. They're extremely useful in the early game and can even survive in the mid game. The magic resistance, however, is tiny with 6, so sooner or later any kind of spell will start hurting them. And they can still get scared and run away, and then trample will also work on your own units. So you have to be careful to place squads with Mammoths far away from all of your other units and hope the battlefield won't accidentally move them all towards you. So let's see how many we can get. Oh, that's nice, because if we get at least 4 to go, that's an immediately mailed fist we can crush into whoever poor damn asshole will get attacked in turn 2. Then we have only 120 gold left. We should probably have someone we can turn into a... let's see. The Raven Lord is stealthy, but in earlier ages we could get, say, Sacred Bird people who are also stealthy. This time we don't. Well, sadly, making a Raven Lord a prophet is only useful if we want to send the prophet away to stealthily priest away somewhere else. So I guess what I'm doing is I'm turning another Storm General into our priest prophet next turn. And wow, resources minus 31. Yeah, that's a lot. Do we have some alternative? Caretaker is too expensive. The Iron Craft is... Yeah, it might be too extreme on the elephant side. 36. Ah, yeah. They are even more heavily armed than the actual Stormguards. Now, some alternative? Could always turn one of our mages, but it would be a waste if you have to. That would be a possibility. Of course, I'd prefer someone who has some protection against immediately dying. Well, I suppose the Raven Lord it is. At least this means he can run away if he gets trapped somewhere. So we can add another. Yeah, otherwise the resources would just be wasted this turn. Or let's give ourselves another archer. Yeah, Icelands. So let's do a hold attack and rearmost enemy army. But we should also move some behind. Our commander here isn't immediately flying into danger and then dying. Stay please behind. Let's make this a script with control 1. Then backdoor in. Then this big blob to make sure that as many enemy leaders as possible are caught up. And then we have basic Raptorian warriors with swords. Yeah, as we've seen, the only thing we can really do is set them directly straight into the enemy. And since they have shields, I position them forward. So if there are enemy archers, I will target them first, and a lot of arrows will then be wasted on shields or on their medium to high protection. Our flying scout gets the retreat, just in case there is even a tiny chance of him surviving. Script 2, and now he has 2 turns to look at shit and then report back. See, we only have plains, 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 and mountains, mountains, mountains. The main thing we need right now, since we still have a surplus of money as long as we don't exclusively get elephants, let's soak in the range of shadow, because if there are mountains, this means more resources to plunder. Probably, if you're lucky, less dudes to defeat. And we have this province here, extremely high income, but this also means next turn we will see extremely high amount of defenders. And that's really it what we can do right now. We need elephants in the first few turns, because our units are otherwise, let's say, a bit handicapped, since they are kind of squishy. This of course also means we can't really do anything on this front here. I'm just doing this just in case we get mage recruitment rolling in a few turns, and then I don't want to waste time forgetting I have this. So next turn we can get a commander who then will be our first prophet, because this guy here will be unsupported by sacred, so he doesn't need to be a priest. And that's it really. Nothing much to say in this very first turn. Libluini out. Hello people, Libluini here, and we are back with another round of Dominion 6. This time it's Caelum. Yep, wir sind hier in the late age and a multiplayer game, and we're playing bird people. And we are led by the CEO of CCP. Ha! So it's turn 2, and this is traditionally where most people have declared their prophets. So let's count 3, 6, 9, 10. Us is 11, so there is at least another one who went the other route of selecting a new commander, and of course we both had to wait until recruitment is complete. So what do our fellow players have for names? Pythium, which is basically some sort of fantasy Greece. John Ballard, the Centurion, is now the prophet of Juggernaut bitch, patron of herbalists. Yeah, that's funny. Arcane Mysteries points to astral. Rest is, I think, nature magic. Then we have Ulm. In the late age, a realm of murder and darkness and blood and vampires and big black knights. The best offense is a good defense. The commander of Ulm is now the prophet of diemonster.wmv. Huh. Interesting. And it's Lady of the Creamery. Look at the yeah, I think that might be a vampire queen. Raga. Those guys are also kind of bird dudes, but also kind of desert people. They can go ice, they can go fire. And they have flying sacreds. That's interesting. It's a little bit the opposite of us right now. There is a secret. let's see if we can actually come to that point where we reveal our own flying sacreds. Right now we are in a confusing mess where all our normal units can fly, but our sacreds can't. Bibgi's seductive couch. The Regan Pagan Salah. Is now the prophet of J.D. Vankian casting. Oh, for some reason I have real trouble reading this. Also, shouldn't this be Bigby's seductive couch? Man, I should maybe read up on my Dungeons and Dragons knowledge. And Patala. Snake ladies with water powers. Patala is Brahmaraza, the Banda commander. The prophet of Snake Hold'em. Ha, funny. Of course, Brahmaraza is, I think, only a standard name. So this is one player who would choose to humiliate himself or herself by not naming their prophet. Ooh, that's against etiquette here in the realms of multiplayer Dominion 6. Or should I say manners, since it's English and all? Ah shit, I don't have my translator webpage handy right here. I have to trust in my knowledge of the Anglican language from the Isle of Avalon. Tianxi, Fantasy China. Mao Zedong taught the general is now prophet of full communism for real this time. Yeah, someone else is leaning very heavy into Tianxi being Fantasy China. There are lots of barbarians in the late age, but also really good barbarians who ride horses. You know the drill, Mongols and shit. Bogarus, that's Fantasy Russia. Grigory and he, the Voivode. The Voivode is a type of commander. Is known as a prophet of Dominion's Omegaverse fanfic. Oh, that's something. That's a reference. No, Bogarus is Russians, but with blood magic. They also have other shit, but that's the two main points of Bogarus in the late age. Vetihai. Vetis are tiny little dudes, so it's something like goblins, but from the northern end of Europe. How long will I last? The Veti Jarl is now prophet of 5 minutes? No problem. Oh, the player of Vettiheim should have more confidence. So of course I mostly see Vettiheim dying terribly, but hey, sometimes you just have luck. Femini is one of the newer nations. I think they are all girls or something. They have something to do with all that mess of Prester John and Int and all that really confusing shit that probably only Christians really know from the US, because I sure as hell don't. Anyway, it's a magic kingdom with lots of magic, but they also have good troops. And it's her turn. Again, the Femini Scout is now a prophet of Hillary 2024. Yeah, I think Kamala Harris has obsoleted the Hillary bot for now and forever. And it's a prophet scout. Ah, someone is trying to do this stealth priesting route, I see. Then we have Andramania, another splinter of Int, which doesn't exist in the late age because it was a middle age nation, and in the late age it's splintered into multiple parts. Pirene, the last one, is a similar case. Andramania is mostly people like dog people and other really weird shit. You should really read up on Prester John and all what he's up to in the utter east. It's a wild mess. Aldous Yeller, the Calestri commander, is now prophet of all dog. New tricks. Funny. So we have Pirene. I forgot what they are about. I think they are just hobbits. Magic fantasy hobbits. I think that was redundant, sorry. Come as you are, the Pirenian Castellum. It's now the prophet of Orgy, Invitation and Demon, the man-eater, enemy of infants. I'm guessing Orgy, Invitation and Demon, and then the name stops. It's still on team, I guess. Now we are here, and I completely forgot what I wanted to name my commander, which is, remember, we wanted to rename a Raven Lord. And holy shit, that's interesting here. So let's see, we have heavy infantry, light infantry, crossbowman. Yeah, that's not good. Then we have these guys here, archers, slightly better, but there's also more of them. Heavy cavalries. Our pure bird dudes will need a lot of elephants to get through this. Normally it wouldn't matter, but apparently this is just one solid block of heavy horse. Militias, light cavalries and heavy cavalries. But this time the horses are apparently in minority. Then finally, because we have 5 connections, range of shadow, 100 units. That's a lot of crossbowmen hiding here. So that's a lot of swallow. Potentially a lot of income to get, but holy fucking shit! I think, yeah, that would be I think the best choice, but that will be painful. Well, we have only painful options. That's great, and because our elephants are kind of expensive. Oh boy, everything here is highly risky. 390 ones we can forgot. That's a little bit too much cavalry, I suppose. That's risky because of the high numbers of crossbowmen. I guess we have to risk it and confront the heavy cavalry in Centra. Either that or we just stop expanding and give up. So let's see. Preferences, map filters. Yeah, because I like to see the strength of our belief system. Counted in Dominion scandals. The higher the number of candles, the better. So our belief system is covering 4 provinces right now, including Caelum itself. But the strength is fairly low still, because we don't have a profit, and without a profit we are only having a couple chances to spread our belief for home province and for our main temple. Our profit is therefore not only important because it will be a really good priest, but also because in addition to that, the game will roll for more chances to spread our belief in ourselves, which is good. So now we don't need another Raven Lord, and we have some money left over. Yeah, Harem Elders are too expensive for our caretakers. Crafters, let's see. Oh, resources. Huh. Can we squeeze in some more Raptorian warriors? Ah yeah, reminder to myself, the lesser Russians. Yeah, fun. Now we'll concentrate on those. So now we have, yes, now we may have not enough resources, but I can stop the Spirehorn Archer for now. So now we could get Harem Seraphs. I will go into more detail later, but Harem Seraphs are the basic standard mages of Caelum in the late age. They start with 1 air and 1 death, which is completely useless, except for one tiny thing that may be important later. Then they have 100% chance of getting a second path. If they hit air or death, then they'll suddenly become useful. In all other cases, you get someone who can both research and forge some interesting shit, and that's it. Then we have the Caelum Seraphs, who are still from an earlier age. They are fairly good air mages, but without a source of storm, we can't really do much of them, since the best air combat spell, Thunderstrike, needs air free. And if we want to cast it, we would have to load these guys up with air gems, which is too costly. At that point you can just summon air elementals and have those guys beat up the enemy. It comes down in the same effectiveness, roughly speaking. Harem Elders. Yeah, they're old as fuck. Really good researchers, really fairly good priests. And they come with 2 Earth 1, Death 2. So they are useful already. Then they get one extra magic path, randomly rolled between 5 options. So we could get, in theory, Air 3 and Death 3, which is very useful. Or someone with 2 in all paths. Could be a nice forger of magic items, but that's about it. Then the game rolls again, and we have a 10% chance of yet another path. So it's fairly, extremely, highly unlikely. But for some, we could get some extreme examples like 2, 3, 2, or 4, 1, 2, or 2, 1, 4. It's wild. Problem is, of course, since they are far too old, they will die at an accelerated rate. First they will get diseases and other shit. A-boards will drop off. It's ugly. So not only are these guys expensive, recruiting them too early can fuck you over. Now last time I tried my best to do something using air, but that didn't work quite out right well. Then we have the caretakers who are just priests with some magic attached. And the Iron Crafter who only has earth, so his forging ability is not that useful except for certain earth parts. But they also give 10 more resource for the princess stuck in. And since we still have tons of recruitment points and some money, we'll have to go the Iron Crafter route. We need some of those guys simply so we can keep recruiting more even if our attempts of expansion fail abysmally. Next important thing, our weirdo starting commander gets reinforcements. Whoops. Yeah, that was kind of stupid, sorry. Ah, fuck it, I have completely forgot. None of these guys is actually an archer. So I guess we have to use our units as bullets. See, fire closes. Ah, yeah, of course. The good thing about those mammoths is that the archers independently target or engage enemies as they come. Of course, we'll have to put the elephants a bit in the backyard. They're not immediately stomping on all our guys. So, and Yishti, you will now have to, I'm so sorry, attack into Centra and hope that the mammoths are enough to defeat the heavy cavalry. Otherwise, we are in some real trouble here, since I do not have enough money to get some mercenaries. So that will be quite a risky moment here. We still have research 0, since we are only now recruiting a mage. And now we'll have to get a profit, I guess. Yeah. You may not know this, but before EVE Online there was a board game the developers used to make the money they needed to start with the insane space MMO project. And now board game to pay for a real game will become our profit. And that's it for this turn. We're still too far in the beginning. Diploidi out.